Today, I want to deep dive into a topic that I'm sure many of us, including myself, are very familiar with, and that is procrastination. I'm sure we're all familiar with it, that common, often very frustrating pattern where we know what needs to be done and what we should be doing, but instead we pour our energy into anything and literally everything else. And it's got many causes, and I would like to look into a few of them today with you.
For a long time, I, like many of us, I'm sure, believed it was simply a case of laziness or poor time management. I'd push myself to just do it, only to end up feeling stuck, or even worse, I'd convince myself that my diversions were somehow worthwhile, even when deep down I knew I was avoiding the task that truly mattered. Even for something as simple as sending an email or making a phone call, that avoidance could feel incredibly heavy. But through my own experiences and a lot of self-reflection, I've come to a pretty clear realization, and that is that this common view of procrastination often misses a crucial, deeper truth. This may sound odd right now, but I believe procrastination can be used in a productive way by letting it guide us towards places within ourselves that we need to focus our attention on in order to heal them, and so become a more grounded and, of course, a more productive person. Now, before we dive into the deep end, I need to just state up front. Sometimes a deep dive into ourselves isn't necessary. Maybe we just need a few practical tips to help us out when willpower alone isn't enough to see us through. So here are some simple steps and little hacks that can make a big difference in helping to clear the path, given in no particular order. The first one is we can try rewarding ourselves with something enjoyable after we complete a task, whether it's a delicious snack, an episode of our favorite show, or a relaxing walk. The next one is that we can minimize distractions in our environment. The classic one is putting our phone on silent so notifications don't constantly fight for our attention, because the likelihood is that the phone is going to win. And here's one that often works for me, and that's tackling that nagging task first thing in the morning, so it's not weighing on my mind all day. Another thing that helps is letting go of the all or nothing mindset. Say the task on our agenda has many steps to it, then addressing one of those steps so that we are even just one step closer to having it ticked off the list is better than nothing, literally. Perfectionism can hold us back, and doing it imperfectly is often better than not doing it at all. However, there are other ways of addressing procrastination when we notice that it occurs over specific types of task. Say like when someone may have to make an appointment to see the doctor, but only when it's for themselves because they don't have any problems doing it for other people. In those types of cases, it's worth taking that deep dive and exploring further. Research actually suggests that procrastination is less about time management and more about emotional regulation, which is our ability to navigate our feelings. We tend to put things off when tasks stir up discomfort, like deep uncertainty or a fear of failure, or, oddly enough, even a fear of success. It's almost as if our brains are trying to shield us from these uncomfortable emotions, even if it means delaying important work. When you think about it, we often redirect our mental efforts to tasks we can do, simply to avoid confronting the true reasons we're avoiding the main one. In some cases, this can be a shield to prevent us from discovering what those deeper issues are, especially if we're not consciously aware of them. Unfortunately, this pattern is particularly common for those who have experienced trauma, which doesn't necessarily have to be a dramatic event, but be something like growing up in neglect or with a lack of love and acceptance. These experiences can subtly shape our thoughts, creating false narratives or beliefs that we mistakenly come to believe are core to who we are. From my understanding in this, and I've spent a long time researching trauma, often the primary unconscious goal of a mind carrying such influences is to conceal the true source of its pain, protecting this false self, which is a persona that the person had created for themselves through no fault of their own. It was created to protect themselves from the trauma in the first place. So far then, in unpacking the why behind procrastination, the real question becomes, what are we avoiding and why are we avoiding it? The answer can be far less obvious than we think. Freedom from this cycle doesn't come from external fixes or stricter schedules, but from a profound internal shift. It's less about your actions and more a reflection of your inner world, your emotions, and how you relate to concepts like productivity in unhelpful ways. So let's consider how we often embrace concepts like productivity. While it should ideally be a motivating force, it frequently springs from deep-seated feelings of inadequacy, depression, or helplessness. This creates a dysfunctional cycle because although we might approach tasks with a conscious drive to be productive, when we dig deeper, it is often a subconscious attempt to rid ourselves of uncomfortable feelings like laziness or guilt. I'm sure you'd agree that this isn't a truly motivating place for us to begin, and so we often fail and end up inadvertently affirming the very laziness or guilt we were desperately trying to escape from in the first place. We become stuck in a negative feedback loop where we cast ourselves as both the victimizer and the victim, essentially going to battle against ourselves. It's also worth noting that we don't procrastinate on everything. We usually don't put off daily tasks that are essential, like getting dressed, buying groceries, or going to work. This selectivity is key to understanding the problem. Often, there is a specific confluence of factors within the task that is the reason behind why we are avoiding it, and it's often connected to how we view ourselves, be it through the mirror of self-care or self-worth or something else entirely. This strongly suggests a deeper psychological barrier tied to our personal values and well-being. So, what can we actually do to help ourselves out of this cycle? It's not about labeling ourselves as lazy or incapable simply because we can't start a specific task. The key is to reframe the problem. It's about shifting the responsibility we place on external actions, like making ever more detailed to-do lists, or on perceived inherent flaws, like feeling incapable, and moving it to reshaping our mindset and being curious about ourselves and accepting of what we find there. That way, we can deal more directly with why we are putting barriers up around certain things. Overcoming procrastination then becomes a step-by-step internal process. Straight off the bat, everything starts off better when we aren't resistant to it. So the first crucial step is to stop blaming ourselves. This involves actively challenging the self-blaming story, like one that might carry the idea of needing to work harder to get the job done. Then we need to allow ourselves to feel the emotions that come up. The helplessness, the hopelessness, and powerlessness. These emotions are incredibly valuable because they reveal the truth about what we're really telling ourselves deep down. Next, we question the underlying beliefs that led to those feelings. Why do we feel powerless, hopeless, or whatever it is? We can also spin this question around and ask ourselves, what feelings am I actually trying to get rid of here? We might discover that we've been subconsciously motivating ourselves with guilt or feelings of incapability, and it's no wonder that these don't get us very far. These beliefs give rise to a train of thoughts built around them, and so we challenge those thoughts. Let's take an example. If I plan more, I'll be more productive. Or, I need to push myself harder. These thoughts may have been shaped by the belief that we are incapable or lazy, which is why putting those productivity hacks in place may not have been working out for us. And so, belief by belief, emotion by emotion, thought by thought, we uncover the unconscious drivers to our procrastination. The solution, then, truly lies in addressing these core emotional and mental issues rather than just applying generic productivity hacks. By understanding the why and gently unfolding these hidden layers, we can begin to take things on in a more enjoyable way, or at the very least, with much more ease.
I hope you might find that helpful. It certainly opened my eyes into why I may be procrastinating over certain tasks and finding avenues into my own healing through the lens of procrastination. It has been quite insightful for me. And with that, I'll take your leave. See you in the next video. Bye.